Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on what part of the world you're in. Welcome to the 66th Think Tank. Today we are discussing objects that have disappeared, and other than the small objects that you lose from your sock drawer, we're talking about objects on a colossal scale. I'll just go over to. I'm sorry. Just go over to Chris now for the main meeting. But if you like what you're seeing today, please remember to like and subscribe. And I was actually wrong because we're now going to go to Mark for the check-ins. Mark.
Hi, yeah, so I shall do these. I'm going to start with myself actually for check-ins. How was my week? My week was busy and long-winded and difficult, but we had lots of meetings at work, and they're planning about tripling the size of the company in the next couple of years, and all sorts. We've got lots of investment, and so there's lots of stuff to do. But yeah, overall pretty good, but busy and entirely dominated by work, and nothing else of any note has happened. I watched Mad Max Road Warrior again, the second one, and it is amazing. But yeah, okay, I'm going to hand over to Patrick. How was your week?
I did not watch Mad Max Road Warrior, although I did watch it last week after watching Fury Road. Yeah, I have not had that good a week. I will be entirely honest with you. This was my first day off today. I am feeling dead on my feet, and I'm back in first thing tomorrow. So, good luck to me.
Well, good luck to Pat. And finally, Chris, check in, please. How are you doing?
I'm feeling left out because I must be the only person in the universe who hasn't yet seen Fury Road, despite being a huge Mad Max fan and having watched all the films countless times and dissected them and talked bollocks about them and set games in their universe over the years. So, yeah, left out. But other than that, yeah, work. And then today I got on with some more editing of 66 Hellenic and a bit of experimental page layout. So we're sort of it's grinding slowly forward, but we are definitely going forward, which is the important thing.
Cool. Okay then, so that's all of us in. It's a pretty small bunch. And the question then is really, Chris, if you can take us into the meeting as a whole, please.
Yes, so as Pat said, tonight's topic is how the hell do you lose something that big? So it's about things which are lost, not small things which can fall out of your pockets or get misplaced, but big things like cities, continents, planets, and dimensions. Doesn't matter what the setting or the genre, but tonight we're looking for ideas and plot hooks for really big things which are lost, but the characters may have just found. So obviously this is inspired by sort of like, lost cities, Atlantis, that sort of thing, or the classic sort of pulp thing of sort of discovering, hidden sort of dinosaur and volcano with dinosaurs in it and all the rest of it. That sort of lost continent, lost world sort of feel to it. So yeah, big things which have lost, which are just being found. And we're going to go start with Patrick, who with the title something, Who Stole Tuesday? Please explain, Patrick.
Okay, so it's your kind of standard fantasy venture. Probably quite near the end of, or quite near what your players think is going to be the end of their standard fantasy adventure. Your big necromancer is going to do his thing to destroy the world, and he's going to do it on Tuesday, tomorrow. But your adventurers are ready for him. You've got all the stuff you need. You want to be rested and ready. You fall asleep on Monday night. And you wake up on Wednesday morning. The evil warlord has won. The world is covered with this darkness, and you have no idea what happened to Tuesday. So you have to set out and find where Tuesday went. That was the basic concept of it.
I like that. That it's because you can do the standard build up. Think it's. Players expecting the big fight, save the day, everybody happy. They just like go to bed and then wake up and they've lost. And I just really like that idea because it just suddenly turns the whole thing on its head and sort of introduces a completely different adventure. Do you see this sort of? Would this be something you'd drop in after quite a long campaign, or would you sort of like have 3 or 4 weeks of what seems to be ordinary thing, and then do this sort of like flip?
I know, because it feels like a kicker for like a mini campaign. So, although I said it would probably work best narratively towards the end, but sometimes in role playing you have to sacrifice narrative for feasibility. So yeah, maybe 2 or 3 sessions in might not be the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, the problem these sorts of big switches have is that the players are invested in the old world effectively, and their characters are set up, and so can feel cheated by the GM when something big happens.
It's the thematic device I use quite a bit actually. I know we're deviating here, but I've done games where they think they're going to be doing one thing and it's entirely turned into another thing, once or twice. I've got a plan at one point to have something where a god makes everybody switch character sheets. But but no, yeah, I can see what you mean. It's the thing is with this, you're still in the same fantasy world. It's just your quest is different. Your quest is now to find where Tuesday went, and I like because the thing is you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be, where the hell do we start? You know, how do you steal a day? Who's taken it? And if they're that powerful, should we be messing with them?
Yeah, I suppose the question is, has it disappeared for everybody or just for the players? So, you know, did they just like sleep through for 24 hours, or has everybody woken up and gone, welcome to Tuesday?
I like the idea that it's everybody has woken up and what's happened to Tuesday. Even like the Dark Lord is sitting there going, well, I seem to have won, but I don't remember how. You know what I mean?
Oh, right, so it's not the Dark Lords. You know, I just assumed it was part of his plan, but actually, yeah, that actually makes it really interesting if actually it's the bad guy is as confused as everybody else.
Yeah, because that would probably be their first thought. Is, oh, he's done this. Let's go over there with some counter magic, and you know.
I suppose one question also is, how do they know they've lost the day? Well, if you're a farmer, then how do you know that today is actually Wednesday and not Tuesday?
Well, it depends on your kind of world. I mean, if you've got like clocks, obviously they'd have changed. Calendars would have changed. I mean, obviously you need somebody to change the calendar, but you know, like
who went around crossing out the days?
That's the mystery.
You can have little physical effects like everyone is much. They feel like they've been in bed much longer.
Yeah.
They've been there for a long time. You get a bit sweaty. Everyone feels like they've been in bed for a really long time, and all the milk is slightly more off than it should be, and all the bread is slightly more. There's all these little physical signs that it's kind of a day longer. And also, kind of astronomically, you look at the stars and you compare that to simulation. And go, hang on.
Yeah,
off by a degree.
astronomically would be the easiest way.
What's going on? I kind of like the idea of it sort of slowly emerging over time that you've actually lost a day.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, you've got 2 ways of doing it. One, you can say that effectively nobody did anything on the missing day, or you can say that everybody did what they were meant to do, but they're completely unaware. So calendars are crossed off, cows have been milked, and things like that. But they get up and say, I don't remember cooking that pie, or I don't, or people are due to get married on that day, or things like that. Well, clearly we're married, but
yeah.
I don't recall it.
That was the idea. It's that the day has gone past, but it's gone. It's been nicked. Somebody nicked it, and you have to get it back so that you can find out what went wrong and sort it out.
Have you any ideas who stole it?
If I was running it, I'd have it be something involving some kind of time god, or so it would have to be something very, very esoteric and a bit kind of not necessarily powerful, but certainly capricious, you know.
I suppose that if you were trying to be clever, you would have something actually the characters have done. At one part, early part, they've gone into a dungeon, found a mysterious switch which they've triggered, but it's like a light switch which doesn't work. You switch it on and off, you flip it a few times, and nothing happens, and you forget about it. But actually, what that did was trigger up the chain of events which would disappear a particular day.
Yeah.
Um,
A literal end of the world switch.
Right, so that was Tuesday. We don't know what happened to it, but it's a great idea. I think, for the right party, right campaign, that would be really, really interesting. Okay, let's move on to Mark. Mark, what do you have for us?
I'm going to be Jay for this one. I'll pick one of his ideas. So he's got it's called The Greatest Bucket. And he's picked this kind of world of Neth, which is mostly kind of a barren desert, so out of a Mad Max kind of thing again. And there's ruins of cities and long desiccated ocean floors, and there's plenty of evidence that there was a lot of water here, but it's gone. So civilization kind of clings to whatever water is left. So the odd stream, the odd well, the odd borehole that can be sunk. And mostly then everyone's gone to being nomadic or scavengers. So you end up with those kind of nomadic scavenging players. You've got a bunch of wanderers. And they're recently forced to abandon their home when the aquifer beneath it runs dry. So they walk off, they move on in search of more water. And they come across this massive great stone tower, and it looks completely untouched by the elements and looks very new. It's abandoned. At the top they find a bucket, just full of water in the daylight. And no matter how much they take from that bucket, it's always full. So they put a cup in, they put a spoon in, it's always full. And then there's written on the side as a note. So contents within, the seas. So in this bucket is all of the water. The water was lost, and someone stole it and put it in this bucket, presumably. So part of what you could do with that eventually is trying to find out how did this happen, who was able to destroy civilization by putting all the water in just this one bucket, and also what do you do with it?
Yeah, my first question is that if you want the seas back, and you start tipping the bucket over the tower, does it just flow out at sort of like a normal bucket sort of rate, just never ending, or does it gush out like Niagara Falls? Because quite frankly, if it comes out at a bucket rate, then it's going to be many generations before the seas are back.
Yeah, you just kind of find a reasonably high point where you can see a river water going to the ocean. Just put the bucket aside and go clonk, and then you wait for a very long time. Or, I mean, it can become essentially all-powerful because you have a near-infinite source of water that nobody else has. Or you can make that completely useless because it contains the seas, it's salt water.
Yes, yeah.
You can't irrigate with it. Tough.
Yeah, it poses some good questions. So, yeah, I mean, then also the question is, why were they put there? I mean, we've assumed it's stolen, that someone tried to destroy the world by doing this, which makes its own question of why. But what if it wasn't stolen? Maybe they were put there for safekeeping. What if they pour the bucket out and something else comes out with the seas? Yeah, some deep ones. The oceans were overtaken by deep ones, so someone gathered up all the waters and dumped them in a bucket.
Or they let the deep ones then die in the sun, and they're going to put it all back, and then something happened to them, they weren't able to complete the world. Patrick, what do you reckon? You got a thought?
Well, I have to say, my players, if you present them a world where there is no water, and then give them a bucket of infinite water, they're going to set themselves up as gods. Like, they're literally going to sit there all day and go, we're going to charge so much money for this water.
Yeah, because
sorry.
Even if it was salty, it doesn't take a genius to work out how you can distill water. Especially if it's a hot, sunny place. It's relatively easy.
Mm. I also like the idea of roving tribes of deep ones, kind of like all oiled up and trying to keep the sun out of them, or they'll desiccate.
What, they've got sunscreen on?
Yeah, or just trying to keep moisturised.
I think the bucket can be a real kind of MacGuffin kind of thing. The plot, therefore, is fighting over this bucket and making sure that nobody else gets it, or it gets to the right place. You've worked out somewhere you can put it where you can restore the seas. But also, the slightly odd idea from entirely physics perspective: if you tip it over and then it has the entire weight of the seas behind it, then that's a huge pressure of water coming out of this bucket. It could blast away vast quantities of sand, throw people away, knock enemies. But for us, also holding onto it then is a real problem because it's going to go off like the world's biggest bottle rocket.
Which, honestly, if you're in a tall tower and you've got a powerful motor, effectively, you actually can take the whole adventure in a different direction.
What, literally go to space with the bucket rocket?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was the original plan, because before you can have the seas, effectively, you also need to get the air moisture back. Because a lot of this water is going to evaporate very quickly. So if you actually start high up, drop it down, maybe as rains and clouds, maybe that's how it's meant to work.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, this one offers quite a lot of possibility, but I think the major risk with it is the thing which Pat identified. If you give players this sort of infinite water, they will just become gods. So you need to give them something else to fight against, whether it's the bucket itself, or stuff trying to come out of it.
Which isn't, the players becoming gods isn't actually a bad adventure plan, because it's got an interesting one where, what's the moral decision? Do they give it out? Do they sell it? Do they form alliances? How do they defend themselves against the other tribes who are going to try and take it from them? So you can have an entire campaign about this MacGuffin, and it's nothing to do with getting the oceans back. It's purely how the players hold on to this, effectively, item of power. Pat, you have a thought?
What if the bucket is frugal?
It keeps filling up, but it's actually quite hard to get a lot out of it.
Well, not exactly. What if this planet is kind of a desert planet, or whatever, and has no water, but we're assuming it had water at some point. And what if maybe there wasn't actually that much water, and there were some people who were hoarding all the water, and so the bucket was a response to that, and it's only designed to give exactly as much water as somebody needs to who needs it. It was essentially designed as a form of kind of almost communism, where everybody gets an equal share of the water. So if you've got the bucket, you can only get a little bit of water out, even though it's an endless supply of water.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually that gives you a reason for creating the bucket, because it's a means of control, isn't it? So, some powerful wizard or whatever creates this bucket, dominates, hands out water as people need it, and then whatever happens, wizard gets killed, people forget about the bucket, and then the players find it again. And again, you got the same thing. Yeah, how do the players sort of deal with the situation? Okay, I think that's done that one. It's a very interesting idea. I think, as a GM, I would want to know a lot about this bucket. Really think through some of these questions and have answers to the players, because I think it's one of those ones where if you just throw it in, the players are going to come up with something you hadn't expected and really make a mess of whatever plans you had. Okay, let's move on to me. So this is the music. Mark's phone. Right. Yes, this is the 10th crossed out 9th planet. So it's 2050, and space probes have investigated every corner of our solar system. Yet somehow we've missed a Jupiter-sized planet orbiting the sun somewhere around Venus. How does this happen? Well, the planet is black, so in space you can't see it. It also has no gravitational effect on anything and emits no energy on any wavelength whatsoever. Quite clearly, this planet is impossible, and the only plausible explanation is some form of alien technology. The planet was only discovered by chance when a space probe accidentally smashed into it. It just happened to be going that way and the two collided. And NASA, being unable to observe the planet remotely or anything, is sending a mission of 20 people to the planet to attempt to discover who, or perhaps what, made it. Now, as the craft approaches the planet, accidents start happening, and it quickly becomes apparent that somebody on the spacecraft has a very different agenda. So, mystery planet and mystery people on small spacecraft doing bad things to the other people. What do you think?
How? And I realise I'm not an astrophysicist here. But, like, how has it not been spotted? I mean, if it's the size of Jupiter and it would be between us and the sun, surely you'd spot the shadow.
Only presumably if it transits the sun from our point of view. I'm not sure whether it is possible not to spot it, but let's say it is. I think that's something.
Sorry,
you can wave your hand.
I was really nitpicky, but I was leading something, but it sort of slipped my mind.
No. It's a perfectly reasonable question. I hadn't thought about that one. I thought, oh, make it black. They can't see it against space. But of course, that's the problem.
What if it's highly transparent?
Oh, it bends light. Things of higher, we know in theory high gravity bends light. Well, we know in fact high gravity bends light.
But also, high gravity distorts solar systems as well. If you've got this thing around the orbit of Venus, then the orbits would be wrong. We've seen that. And there's actually quite a lot of hypothetical planets out there, hypothetically. I ended up trailing around a wiki finding these things. So there's a lot of option for sticking stuff in, for doing stuff which makes astrophysics twitch less. But the fundamental idea of this kind of extreme that you go to, it's kind of a classic space mystery thing.
Solaris.
And what was the other one as well? Like Event Horizon. That kind of thing. You can do all that kind of stuff with it. So a bunch of people in a confined space, and it's got elements of Alien and that kind of stuff in there. You can do that kind of story really well. But one of the things I've been attracted to doing it the way I try to run it is much more the small number of people in a very confined space, paranoia kind of thing. It could be anyone, so you kind of get everyone kind of set against each other. Type thing, kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing, kind of does that as well.
Yeah, it was definitely that sort of thing I was riffing on. In that, it is that classic enclosed space. 10 Little Indians, or whatever it's now called, the Agatha Christie one as well. It's also defined of that genre. But yeah, it really the planet is to a certain extent a MacGuffin. Now, who is the bad guy on the spacecraft? I left open because I could think of two explanations. It's going to be either somebody who doesn't want this planet to be discovered for any reason, doesn't want the human crew to get there, or that it's actually somebody who's trying to get back to the planet and they're sort of like maybe stuck on Earth and an alien and trying to get back to their spacecraft.
Yeah, that's a kind of I like the sound of that. So the planet's been here for a long time. People from that planet have been living amongst humans for a very long time. They're the ones trying to get there. Or, alternatively, the person sabotaging it is in fact the only human on the ship. The other people who've managed to wrangle onto this mission are in fact aliens, and they're trying to get back. This particular individual doesn't want that happening for whatever reason, just in case they take human secrets or human technology with them.
So there's a secret mission, there's a secret agent effectively killing the aliens, and the players are unaware of this, so therefore they think it's someone trying to stop the mission, where it's actually someone trying to protect the mission.
Or they are actually aliens. Maybe they're half-breeds. There's some kind of weird psychic effect which has made them want to get on this mission to go to them, but they don't really realise that they're not. They don't really realise that they're not where they think they are. And yes, there is this kind of secret agent thing. He's managed to get himself on. Or some conspiracy theorist has worked it all out and has managed to get onto the ship and is now trying to sabotage it to prevent that from happening.
I did wonder whether you could get a situation where, obviously, as more people have been killed, obviously a number of people left on the ship decreases, and you have 5 or 6 players. So it becomes obvious at a certain point, there's only going to be 1 or 2 suspects left. One of them must be the killer. And I thought, well, what happens if you just let that go? So actually, the last murder takes place, and there's only the characters left. Who could you set up the adventure either so that one of the characters actually is the murderer, possibly unknowingly, or actually there's something else on the ship entirely which no one had suspected.
I've played a couple of games where the murderer has been a player, so it's the typical con game kind of trick. Everyone knows that someone is, and so you dole them out. Then it's someone's role to be the killer. It is a tricky one to run because obviously the killer wants to do things that nobody sees, and so they have to keep running off with the GM in order to do secret things, and obviously everybody knows that it's them.
I like the idea of a game where everyone's the alien. And it kind of reminds me of old school Paranoia, where you were basically told one of you might be a mutant, and then everybody was secretly told that they were a mutant and that they should look out for the others because the others are going to mutate them.
Actually, now that you mention it, it would make a really good Paranoia adventure, wouldn't it? Because, if the science is daft enough for Paranoia and, a bunch of clones stuck on a craft killing each other, all believing it's some secret society or whatever going on, that's... especially if they're not in contact with the computer. That would actually be quite a good Paranoia adventure. But I'm just going back to Mark, this idea that possibly they don't know that it's something subconscious. And that gives you the thing that you can maybe introduce things into the players as they get nearer to the planet. Maybe they notice strange things about themselves or have strange dreams or memories.
Yeah, that worked quite well. And you can dole out the memories as it goes on, as maybe these things come back as they get closer and closer to the planet. Then these memories start to come back to them. They kind of slowly realize, oh, actually, I'm not quite what I think I am. I did that in a con game, set in the alien world. A Carnivorous actually all came out of cryosleep, and our memories kind of slowly came back to us. So that it was a handy way of developing the plot. It's also really good for the GM is if it kind of gets stuck a bit, you can dole out the next round of memories, and then the players start generating their own action.
Okay, I think that's enough about the ninth planet. Right, Mark, I believe you've got one more.
Yeah, I just kind of sketched it down now. It's a question of why is the rum gone and everything else and all the money. So between the end of trading on Monday and the start of trading on Tuesday, everything vanished. All the money disappeared from the financial system, so everyone had zero. All the commodities vanished from the market, so nobody had anything, and all the land registers went blank. So technically there's no money, no stuff, and no one actually owns anything. That happened about a week ago. The banks and the markets have done a fantastic job of hiding this because they found out that just by continuing to hand out cash and process payments, no one's actually realised that the system no longer exists. It's just that going around in a loop in and of itself. They've managed to hide this for the for the time being. You are employees of Banco Corp, and they've managed to track this thing down to a computer worm, and then track the worm down to a particular location. They're trying to keep this secret from everyone else on Earth, governments, everyone, to prevent panic from happening. And they've had to scour entirely their own roster, or at least they've had to scour limited to only the people who are on the trading floor on Tuesday morning, the people who first found this out and have been locked in there since. They found that they had to scour them to go to this location and try and find out what's going on and get the money back. And put everything back into the system and find out what went wrong and who took it and why. Tricky bit is, they're not the only bankers come up with this. So they're pretty sure bet there's other competing groups out there trying to find where all the money's gone. So we kind of classic, go to this thing, there's a plot device, go find out what's going on. And I've absolutely no idea who's done it and why.
I love the idea of sending a group of bankers on like a Black Ops mission. It's like, we'll send Jenkins. He plays paintball.
I think it's thinking that kind of thing because you put that whole kind of farce element. Here's a bunch of people who are utterly unsuited to this mission, but they're literally the only people who can do it.
Yeah, you possibly you can play it set up a situation so it's not just bankers. That for some reason, like the only people who know this are 6 random people who happen to be in a particular Starbucks at a time. And so you really allow the players to bring in whatever sort of characters, ordinary people they are. So you're the housewife, the teenager, and people like the bankers and stuff, and they just have to investigate this mystery. Otherwise, all hell's gonna break loose.
Yeah, in the interim, you have to try and get this thing sorted. Try and get this thing fixed and find out where it's gone.
This is fun. I like this.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you can play around with the idea in that, say, rather than all the money and things like that go, it's just all the gold in all the deposit boxes around the world have disappeared, and they can keep the secret for so long. Because not many people obviously have access, but sooner or later it's got to get out. So there's a very real time pressure to get it solved.
I think you could moralise a lot with this one. Say they go out and they solve it and they nearly die in the process. They come back and look, we've got the gold back. And everyone says going, well, actually, whilst we were gone, we realised we didn't need it. It's kind of like, what was it, Making Money, I think? It's one of the Pratchett ones.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And they worked out there was never any gold in the bank. It was all lead. It had been sold off or stolen years ago. And it doesn't matter because
yeah,
the people believe it there, it's there.
I like the idea. It's almost a kind of Bond, like classic Bond style.
Oh yeah, that 1960s super.
Yeah, Bond. Blofeld's stolen all the money. Go and start him. And I love that. This you could even like turn it on its head a little bit and go, it's a ridiculous situation, and we're sending the least qualified people to do it, but then run it absolutely straight.
Yeah, leave the players asking, why the hell have they chosen my character? And then it's going to occur to them that maybe they're set up to fail. And that actually is an angle you could take. You're talking about moralising. Is actually the whole adventure is about them failing, and they come to this like deadline where they had to discover the money by otherwise the financial markets would crash, and it passes, and nothing happens. So yeah, you can really moralise about it and set the players up for failure, but effectively win at the same time.
Well, we kind of get to the point where they don't have time to solve it, so they just type it back in. It's there. Or I mean, if you want to put a real deadline on it, you can say that the money disappeared just before close of trading on Monday, and you have until beginning of trading on Tuesday morning to get it all back again. Otherwise, everything's gone hideously wrong. They talk about the Bond villain thing. I love this idea of this kind of Goldfinger kind of character. He succeeds in blowing up all the gold, destroys it all, or takes all the gold, and nothing happens. No result whatsoever. I have all the money in the world. Everyone will come to me. Oh, the economy's absolutely fine. Oh, whoops! Didn't expect that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and but you can actually play that so many different ways. High farce, incredibly serious. You can take it like the Bond angle, or you can, make it magical, or sort of almost like very Dresden Files type urban fantasy sort of thing. So I think it's an idea with lots of potential. Let's very quickly get one more idea in. I think Pat, you've got another one, haven't you?
I have. Mine is called Whatever Happened to Planet Thingy. And essentially, one day everybody wakes up and the Earth has disappeared. All the houses are still there, all the people are still there, all the animals are still there. Anything biological or man-made is still there, but all the rocks, sand, water, all of that has just disappeared. And not only has the planet itself disappeared, the kind of concept of the planet has also gone. So nobody can remember what the planet was called. They know there was something there because it makes no sense that all this stuff is floating around on its own. But it's just in the same position it was, still with the biosphere and everything. But you can see through the planet to the other side.
So effectively, the Earth, all the ground of the Earth, has been replaced by glass, effectively, or
Yeah.
or force field of some type.
Exactly. Yeah. It still must have some kind of mass because you're standing on it and it's producing gravity, but it's certainly not Earth, rock, magma, and whatever the bit is at the middle anymore.
So is there still water? So you can look at it. You can look at a river, and it just looks like this kind of weird column of water hanging in free space.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like a waterfall just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. What about plants? Are they still growing?
Sorry.
What about things which grow from the soil? So plants, for example, are they still growing in this?
Yeah. Anything in the biosphere is still there. So oxygen is still there. I suppose water is part of the biosphere, and like plants, like there's like a thin layer of grass all the way over the surface of the world, but you pull it up and you can see all the way down underneath it.
I mean, what this screams out to me is computer glitch. This is the sort of thing which happens, when you're playing Quake or whatever, and the wall disappears, or something along those lines. So that would be my immediate take on how to develop the idea.
This idea as well. There's a night shift of miners who are down some mine shaft somewhere, and then suddenly all the rocks disappear. They can look around them. They can still stand it. They can still feel it, but they can't see the mine.
They can't figure out how to get back because it's like a mime in a glass cage. Oh, that's nasty. I like that. I liked your idea of it being a computer glitch, and that sort of put me in mind of The Matrix, which always instinctively makes me jump to Dark City, which is a much better film. And I just had this idea in my head that there's just these guys in like long black coats and big wide hats going around going, nothing's changed, it's all fine. Just like, so that could be your in. It's like, what are those guys doing?
So in this one, who are the players? Are they a bunch of random people, or are they being selected to try and work out what's going on? Or
well, you could run it either way. You could be like a kind of government oversight investigation team, or you could be Joe Average from Starbucks.
One way to set it up is because it occurs to me that aeroplanes are going to have a bit of a problem, because how do you avoid flying into mountains? And so actually, yeah, if you put the characters on a plane when it happens, and they crash or they end up somewhere, then you've got a group of survivors who have got to work out what the fuck just happened.
Yeah. Oh, I like that idea. And you just because you could crash into the top of a mountain. You get out of the plane and you're on a snowbank, because there's snow. But you walk about 5 yards and look up and there's nothing, just space.
So yeah, I think it's a lovely idea. It's quite a silly idea, and I think that it strikes me as an evening con game sort of idea.
Yeah.
Where you can the players can let rip.
Hmm.
Okay, I think that's all we've got time for tonight. So very quickly, Mark, would you like to take us through some pluses and deltas?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with myself again. Pluses. Interesting ideas. It's a really interesting question because it's such a kind of open one. You can pick a huge range of things. And I like the stuff we came up with, particularly the Invisible Planet. That's going to be a real mind bender trying to work out trying to build a plot around that and cover some of which is kind of as good as the basic idea is. Deltas. Getting here late because I was at work rather than eating dinner and doing things I should be doing before doing these things. That's pretty much it for me. Chris, what about you? Plus and delta.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I particularly, I think in some ways those silly ideas of the disappearing planet, or the conceptual ones of perhaps who stole Tuesday. Actually, are, they took the concept of, you've lost something to its logical extremes. You've lost a concept. You've lost something which is impossible to lose, and then following it through. I think that's really interesting and poses lots of challenge as a GM to write something around those ideas. Deltas, we're a bit thin on the ground. Josh is away. Em's not feeling so good, etc., etc. We need to sort of make a bit more effort to get some people in, I think.
Yeah, okay. So that's something we need to look at for doing next time and keeping our numbers up. And Pat, finally, with you.
Again, I love the concepts. Got some real good ideas from them. If I had time to run another game, I would run one of these, but I don't. Deltas. Where is everybody? I'm sure we had more people than this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the same. Really.
Okay, so I think that's it. So the major thing to pick here is getting people in and everything else. Also, we have bad weeks, we have good weeks. So we'll sort that out. So we can move on to signing out at the end of all this lot. And Patrick, just want to sign us off?
Okay, well, that was big things that have gone missing. Very big things indeed. If you have any ideas for big things that can go missing, please let us know through the normal channels, right in the comments of the video, or get in touch with one of us. Please like and subscribe this video if you liked us. If you'd like to see us doing more of this, then let us know. We'd love to hear feedback. If you want to get involved in these meetings, please let us know. There's space. All right. Thank you very much, and good night.